We're back here on Lunch with Claiborne and Joe. It's the Ameren, Illinois Lunch Show, driven by Munganast St. Louis Acura and powered by Gray Bar. Joe Roderick, Mike Claiborne, after a bit of a technical difficulty there. Claib's live out in Phoenix, Arizona. Claib's, it might, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that's messing with something, with all kinds of stuff out there. Want to get into the Hall of Fame stuff, but quickly, British Open this past weekend. Nick Ragone, Andy Hanselman talked about it on the Walk in the Fairway this past week on the show. Brian Harman wins. He was 26th in the PGA Tour. Wins his first ever major tournament, was the runner-up back in 2017 at the U.S. Open. How much of it did you get to watch this weekend?
I was in and out. It was on in the clubhouse. It just, I'm not a big Open fan because every time you turn it on, the weather looks crappy. Mm-hmm. And the courses look like, as I always tell people, if that course was in St. Louis, I wouldn't pay to play on it. They just don't look attractive. And I understand that's where golf started, and it's got a lot of tradition. It's my least favorite event of the four majors.
Okay.
But Harman was a guy who, he got off to a good start, and he was able to just stay consistent. I mean, I didn't think he was electric. But you know what? The other guys just couldn't catch him. I mean, Rory tried to make a run at him. Some other guys, I thought John Rahm was going to make a run. But they couldn't put it together. For whatever reason. And so, you tip your cap to Harman. Maybe this is a start, but I think it goes to say once again how the tour, some people think it's great that we have a different guy winning every week, but I think also people are disappointed we don't have that person that we know is going to be in the final pairing or two on Sunday. We don't have that guy right now because it's so spread out. And maybe that's good for the game. I don't know, but I wasn't enamored with it, to be honest with you.
We'll have golf here in St. Louis. The Ascension Charity Classic will be September 5th through 10th. And that comes your way out at Norwood Hills Country Club. Once again, here in St. Louis. Nick Ragone, we have him on each and every week here on Claibs Online, talking golf and talking about some of the big names they keep signing to play here in September. Claibs, I don't think are the Cardinals home during that?
No, we're on the road, but I'm not sure if I'm on that trip or not.
Gotcha.
I've had a chance to go to that event a couple of times, and it's been really cool. So I got a list. Matter of fact, I have to look at the schedule today and see where I'm going to be. It's my hope that we'll be here in St. Louis.
All right, you can catch that this Thursday. Nick Ragone again talking golf here on Claibs Online. Claibs Hall of Fame weekend in Cooperstown. Fred McGriff, Scott Rowland, Pat Hughes also in the Hall of Fame. So he was not in Chicago with you guys this past.
No, Pat wasn't there. Neither was Ron Coomer. Their whole broadcast team went to Cooperstown.
I saw that. Yeah, I'm friends with Matt Spiegel, who 670 The Score, and I saw he was on the call for that. And at first, I thought I was like, "That's are they doing some kind of gimmick up there?" But then I realized, no, it's everybody's out in Cooperstown to honor Pat Hughes.
Yeah, and Pat, one of the nicest people in the business. Happy for him. It's one of those things where I've not always agreed with the Hall and their selection process. But Pat's a guy that's, he's paid his dues. He's done a nice job, and that's important. But I always look at the Hall on the broadcaster side with a jaundiced eye on how a person who could do games for 50 years, been part of multiple World Series teams as far as broadcasting, is not in the Hall of Fame. That's Mike Shannon, and he probably won't get in the Hall of Fame. John Rooney's a guy who probably should be considered more, considering his multiple years. I think he's coming up on 40 years in business. The guy's done World Series in both leagues. And so, the process is maybe a little flawed, I guess. But you know what? It doesn't take away from what Pat Hughes has done.
No, Scott Rowland goes in, a former St. Louis Cardinal, won a World Series here in St. Louis. Have they announced, and I maybe I've missed it, have they announced it when if they're retiring 27 with Scott Rowland?
I haven't heard anything to that effect. I guess we won't hear about that until Cardinal Hall of Fame weekend. which is coming up in August, I believe. So we will probably know more about it then, but I haven't heard anything recently. I've been kind of out of touch, but I know there was a huge contingent of Cardinal front office, including Mr. DeWitt and Mo and some other people. The Cardinals were well represented to support Scott Rowland, who had his best years of his career in St. Louis.
Yeah, when you look back at it, because I was looking at his career numbers and everything, because the defensive numbers, I know when he was here, plenty of Cardinal fans probably thought they would never see a better defensive third baseman than Scott Rowland in their lifetime, and then just 10 years later, here comes Nolan Arenado to show them up with that. But when you look at his numbers, he put up such good numbers in Philadelphia, but they never won anything.
Yeah.
And then came here and was part of one of the most successful runs that the Cardinals have seen. And then just, I mean, the year in Toronto too. I mean, playing on that surface in Toronto probably took off another year or two at the end of his career.
Yeah, it's an interesting career. And I guess for me, I've been blessed, man. I saw Kenny Boyer play. Kenny Boyer was the MVP, Gold Glove third baseman. Saw Terry Pendleton play. Terry Pendleton could pick it with anyone. I've had a chance to watch Scott Rowland, now Nolan Arenado, and they all brought a different glove to the ballpark, but they were really, really good when they played. But Rowland, I think from an offensive standpoint, was a guy that when you think about the years when he played with Edmund and Albert, that was a really good group of players. And the fact that he was such a versatile guy, he was a big guy. Scott's 6'4", a big third baseman.
I'm supposed to go play college basketball.
Yeah. I mean, he was a tennis player. I mean, he was an incredible athlete. He stuck with baseball, and, it turned out well for him, and I'm happy for him. He's a good man. I had a great relationship with him. He was a soft-spoken guy to a point, but when you got him worked up, man, he could give it to you with the best of them.
Fred McGriff also goes in. That took way too long for Fred McGriff to get into the Hall of Fame. So glad to see that he's in there. And it's one of those ridiculous things where if he had 500 home runs, would have been in first, second ballot.
Yeah, I agree.
But because it was 493, it took him a few more years than necessary.
Well, you think about strikes and lockouts and things of that nature that he was part of that took away from him. He was always a valuable guy. Everybody wanted him on the trade deadline. I mean, that's why he played with so many different teams, because he could help you. And one of the nicest people you'll meet, and I know during the Hall of Fame when he was announced, I was giving him grief about the fact. I said, had you not done those Tommy Mansky commercials and that cap you wore, you probably would have been in before now. And he said, you don't know how many people have said that to me over the course of time, and how little money he got out of that thing. But he got his deal. Couldn't meet a nicer person. Very, very appreciative of the honor. And I think when you look at these two guys and what they were able to do for the game, these are your guys, okay? These guys didn't have a cloud over their head. These guys didn't cheat the game. These guys were just what a Hall of Fame should be all about.
I saw next year's class of who's there. I mean, Adrian Beltre's a lock.
Yeah.
To get in there next year. And I saw that, and one name that didn't pop up was Ichiro. And I'm trying to figure out.
He's in.
No, but I'm trying to think. Like, it feels like it's been 8 to 10 years since Ichiro last played. And I think what I forgot about, and I would imagine other people have, the start of the 2019 season, the Mariners played 2 games in Japan to open up the year. And Ichiro was on the roster for those and played in those games to do that for Japan and for the Mariners organization. And so the clock for him going into the Hall of Fame didn't start because of those 2 games he played at the start of the 2019 season. So Ichiro's not eligible until 2025.
That's unfortunate, but he'll go in. He's a first ballot guy.
It's got to be 100%, right?
There's going to be some asshole that won't do it.
We've had 2 now, right? There's been 2 with Griffey and Rivera. They were both 100%, right? I feel I mean, there's plenty that we've said, throughout the years that have to be 100%. I mean,
Ozzie was close. Ozzie was close.
I mean, there's somebody out there that didn't put Tony Gwynn on their first ballot. So it just goes to show you, what some of these writers were thinking over the years.
They're rapidly becoming irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody reads them. I won't say nobody. Fewer people read them. They want to have a footprint. I'm of the belief that why aren't broadcasters involved in the voting process? And if you're gonna vote, if you covered a guy, if you wrote on a guy when he was playing, your vote should weigh more than a guy who has a writer's card and has a vote.
Yeah.
Who's never seen these guys play.
Right.
If you were a former player, if you're a Hall of Famer, you should have a vote. If you played with or against this person. But to just hand it over to some guys just because they have a card and because they're up to vote, I think is ludicrous because they miss. And then they want to make a statement, and be seen and heard, but nobody cares about them. I think that's wrong. But I think every Hall of Fame that we see has a process that may be flawed in one way or another.
Yeah, we will see. The next Cardinals to get in, I guess, is going to be Albert and Yachty. I'm trying to think if there's anybody with Cardinal ties that'll go in over the next 4 years between those two.
Nothing. No one stands out, but I'm sure there's somebody.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll tell you a guy who might be out there. Maybe. What about Carlos Beltran?
Do you think what happened in Houston hurts his chances?
Yeah, I think it does, but here's the thing. Anybody who knows Carlos Beltran knows what an elegant professional he is, okay? And they pinned this whole thing on him solely. He had to have some help, okay? There were some other people that were involved. But he's taking the hit for it because he's the most recognizable guy. But from a playing standpoint, I don't know anybody who's better at doing his time.
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 years he was in St. Louis, he was the best player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
All-star both years, elegant, professional. I mean, another guy who reeks what the Hall of Fame should be all about.
Yeah. We will take a break. It is the Ameren, Illinois Lunch Show with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com. Back in 30 seconds.
Can Graybar help my electrical and datacom jobs be more productive?
Yep. Our supply chain services are designed to do just that.
Like job site services?
Yep. We deliver the products you need where and when you need them, no matter your industry.
What if I have technical questions?
Yep. Our specialists are top-notch.
Emergency support?
Yep. Even after hours.
They're a unicorn.
When you need to keep your projects productive and profitable, rely on Graybar to help you get the job done right. No unicorns required. Yep, Graybar does that.
Back here, it's the Ameren, Illinois Lunch Show with Claibs and Joe, powered by Graybar and driven by Munganass St. Louis Acura. And hey, this week, if you are looking to escape the heat in St. Louis, head on over to the place in Alton, Illinois, Claibs, that has the coldest beer in all of town.
Coldest beer, peel and eat shrimp, Fast Eddie burgers, everything you can imagine will be at Fast Eddie's. Fast Eddie, we were together this weekend. He was in Chicago. And that place just rocks, man. I mean, there's so many people who just make that a staple for them as far as their entertainment, whether it's lunch or just hanging out, catching games, you name it, they have it, live entertainment. It's a really cool place. And if you haven't been there, you should check it out. And of course, the only rule is you got to be 21 or over. And you just never know who's going to be walking through the door there. So I always find Fast Eddie's to be my spot, certainly in Alton, Illinois, just across the bridge. They have a dispensary right next door if you're looking for some of those items as well. So everything you need is within walking distance. Entertainment, good food, good drinks, cold beer, and cold is big this time of the year, but it's all found at Fast Eddie's Bon Air in Alton, Illinois.
All right, Claibs. Last week at Munganass Alton Toyota, big revelation was made. I had no idea that Mission Impossible was a TV show before it became a what are we on, number 7 now of the featured films. And you gave me a homework assignment. You told me you wanted me to go back. They're actually all 7 seasons of it is on Paramount Plus. So if you have Paramount Plus, all 7 seasons of the Mission Impossible TV show is there. So I need to ask you, what happened between season 1 and season 2 where they just completely recast the main character in that?
Yeah, well, Stephen Hill, who was in Law and Order, he was in the first season of Law and Order as well. He's an ordained rabbi. There was a contractual issue that took place, and they went out and found Peter Graves, and he took over, and Peter Graves ran the show. It was only one person in the whole cast that was in every episode.
Is that Peter Lupus?
Yes. Very good call.
Thank you. How big was that? Was like from the very first episode, seeing him on there. I mean, this took place. This started back in 1966. Like he had to be just a monster of a human back in
He still
1966
is.
for just
He still is.
how big of a guy that he was.
You know what? The only guy who was bigger than him in that era was Clint Walker, who was in a TV show called Cheyenne. He was also in the Dirty Dozen. And I believe Clint just recently passed. But those two guys were mammoth. You know, they didn't play pro football. Or, you know, there's some guys that play pro football that were doing TV shows and things like that. But these guys were legitimate actors. And it was an interesting show. It was way ahead of its time as far as the thought process was concerned. But once Peter Graves settled in, you know, Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, Greg Collier, all those guys, Greg Morris, all those that main nucleus stayed together for a long time until the end. And then Leonard Nimoy was part of Mission Impossible at the end as well. So it didn't have any changes, but it was a very interesting show. Tom Cruise is obviously taking it to another level. But yeah, it was cool. It was must-watch TV on Saturday night.
Clint Walker from Hartford, Illinois,
yes.
right here in the area. It's funny you mentioned that Leonard Nimoy was in some of the episodes because one I was actually just watching today had oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on his Star Trek. Who else was on Star? God bless it.
William Shatner.
Yes, William Shatner. It was an episode William Shatner was in. So I was just watching that one earlier. So to see 1970 William Shatner from 50 years ago was something. That was a big name back then, right? Because Star Trek would have been going on
right in Star Trek. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I got to say the budget that they probably had for some of the cosmetics that they did, some of the special effects and everything, to have the masks every episode too. That feels like it was ahead of its time back in the day too, as well.
It's still using it today. You watch Mission Impossible, there's going to be that scene always in each episode or each movie. And they try to stay close to the script. They have their Impossible Mission Force. They don't call it that in the movies, but that's what it is. That's what it was on TV. I always found the coolest part about it is when Peter Graves would go through his list of people who were available to be used for a certain mission, and he'd throw the photos on the couch, and he'd go through that, and it was always those 4 people he was always going to use, and then there was always a guest star from time to time that would be inserted as far as being part of the Impossible Mission Force for that particular mission. So it was a lot of fun, and it's held up over time. That's the other thing. It's held up over time.
We after the show last Monday, we went into Jamie Burkhardt's office, the GM over there at Munganass Alton Toyota, and I think I sat there for felt like another half an hour as the two of you just went back and forth talking episodes of Mission Impossible, talking and what else were you guys? The other shows you guys were rattling off to each other.
Well, I don't know. You know what? We got into that last night. Ricky Horton, Chip Carey, Michael Whitty from the PR department. It was like about a half a dozen of us sitting around, and the TV show Sea Hunt came up. I know you haven't seen that one either.
Whitty's younger than I am, so how was he able to hang in the conversation?
We were educating Whitty. Lloyd Bridges, and so it inspired me. So my mother was a really good athlete, high school athlete, college athlete, but she would put me in swimming classes on a regular basis because she didn't want her unconscious that her baby drowned because he didn't know how to swim. So I was a huge avid swimmer, and Lloyd Bridges was a retired Navy frogman, and he was scuba diving every week, and he would narrate what was going on. Anyway, if you watch it, it's a little dated, but it was really cool because Lloyd Bridges was a cool cat. The word is Lloyd Bridges might have been the nicest person in Hollywood. Everyone liked him. You know, he raised 2 sons and ended up being in the acting business as well. But Lloyd Bridges was a cool cat, man. So we got into that last night. There was another show we were talking about. We were kind of educating the kids, as I like to call it, so they can have something to do.
It was a big weekend at the box office. I might try to go see Oppenheimer this afternoon. What the show times are here in the area, but I know that finished second to the Barbie movie. This
I don't know. I'm not going to see the Barbie movie, so I'm going to try and see Oppenheimer here. Catch a matinee at some point.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to go see that this afternoon. So maybe we'll have more movie cinema talk to talk about next week.
Well, all you have to do is roll out Rammer, and what I don't know, Rammer has. And I've always felt like if there was an ultimate trivia night, give me Rammer, Earl Lawson Jr., Randy Carricker, Chip Carey, and we'll take on anybody.
See, I feel like you that's too. You need younger. You need younger.
Okay, so if you're a little hipper, you can carry the younger end.
Yeah,
you're pretty versatile.
The last trivia night I went to, they had a category where it was all like youth sayings, the things that the kids are saying now and
so
what they mean.
But we'll cover everything else.
Yeah, that's fine. And then I'll get the pizzas and the beer then after.
So let me tell you, I told you a story about the trivia night we had. Yeah. That guy said, you guys want, why don't you bring back some answers? You ain't done anything else. You can get me started on that guy.
Well, Claims, hey, try to stay cool out there in the desert. Adam Wainwright makes his return tonight to the Cardinals. Been off for 3 weeks, and we'll see what if he's able to get closer to 200. I know that's the ultimate
they need
goal
him. They need him to give us innings tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. This bullpen is chewed up right now, and Wrigley Field will do that to you. So we'll make a move today. I'm thinking Zach Thompson probably goes out because consider he's pitched 2 days in a row. He can't help you today. So Wayno will be on the roster, and we're getting closer to having Tommy Edman back. I think he took some live BP yesterday. So we'll see what happens. But this is going to be a very interesting week. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen, despite what you hear. But we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, we will. Rammer and I will have daily cards later on this afternoon once those lineups come out and those roster moves are made. So we will get you up to date on all of that later on today here on Claibs Online. Until then, he is Mike Claiborne. I'm Joe Roderick. This has been the Ameren, Illinois Lunch Show, powered by Gray Bar, driven by Munganast St. Louis Acura each and every Monday right here on ClaibsOnline.com.
At St. Louis Acura, we have over 100 new Acura models and over 160 pre-owned models in stock or on the way in May. Get 4.9% financing for up to 60 months on 2023 Acura MDXs, TLXs, Integras, and RDX models. Or get a certified rate as low as 3.49% on certified TLX and MDX models. And you can earn up to $1,500 in loyalty incentives. St. Louis Acura, better than ever for you.